So if we're to expand these brackets, multiply them out as it says, we're going to have to multiply everything in this bracket by everything in this bracket. So the first method I want to go through is the grid method. So you might draw it out so you have a multiplication grid where you're doing v and 7 multiplied by both v and positive 1. The key to this is remembering that we are multiplying, because if we have two brackets next to each other with nothing in between them, no plus, no minus, we are multiplying those brackets together. So if we do that, in our first section of our grid, we're going to have v times v, which is v squared. In the second part of our grid, we're going to have v times 7, that's the top right. We write that as 7v. In the bottom left, we're going to have 1 times v, which we write as just v. And in the bottom right, we're going to have 1 times 7, which we'd write as just 7. And generally, when it comes to expanding double brackets and multiplying out brackets, then the terms that simplify are along the diagonal here. So we have v squared in the top left. That's the only v squared there, so it doesn't combine with anything else. In the middle sections, we have v and 7v. Now they combine to make 8v altogether. So we have 8v. And then we have 7 by itself with no v's next to it, so that's just a constant of 7. And then we have our final answer. The other way you might want to approach this, if you're not keen on drawing grids, is to recognize that if we are going to do v plus 7 times by v plus 1, we could just do things very systematically. This is equal to v multiplied by both v and 1. So it's v times v, and it's v times 1. And we're going to do 7 times both of those things as well. So 7 times v and 7 times 1. So we started with our v, then multiplied it by both of our terms. So our v multiplied by both v and 1. And then we had our 7 multiplied by both of them. So 7 times v and 7 times 1, like that. And then we can simplify things a bit. V times v is v squared. V times 1 is v. 7 times v is 7v. 7 times 1 is 7. And you can see at this point, these two middle terms are the ones that simplify together. They're both v, not v squared. V squared is the only v that is squared in this expression. And then we have v and 7v. They add up to make 8v in total. And then we have plus 7 at the end, which is exactly the same as we just got. Another way you might like to remember this is by recognizing we can do first, then the first terms, then the outside terms, then the inside terms, then the last terms of the brackets. Or you might draw like that kind of half moon shape, or you may even like doing a kind of shape like this, or other way around. Either way, there's lots of different ways of remembering this, but the most efficient ways of solving this are to recognize that we are doing every term in the first bracket multiplied by every term in the second bracket.